we've heard about the Khalistani issue maybe from the 70s and the 80s, when this particular separatist movement rose in Punjab. And right now there is a small resurgence as well that is happening, and the security establishment has been flagging concerns. But was there any traces of this movement before our independence? Can you introduce the history of this particular movement so that our younger audience may be aware of it?
Okay, the first thing that I'd like to start with is the critical importance of Punjab. I think the Greater Punjab has been literally the front bastion for the Indian subcontinent, for all invaders who came through the Middle East. And over centuries, starting off from Alexander the Great, which all of us know about, right up to Genghis Khan's era, then the battles of the Muhammad of Ghazni, the Muhammad of Ghori, coming in, moving down towards the area which is now a portion of Rajasthan, Gujarat, those areas. So I think basically a martial culture existed in this area. The capacity, when we talk about the Sikhs being the most enterprising, I think it comes from this generational change that has happened, that every time you went down, you again rose up. Literally, the rise of the phoenix from the ashes. Yeah, that's what the story is. So this great sense of resilience, I think the capacity to be able to absorb, have this innate sense of understanding what the challenges are and how to overcome them. And I can say it with great not because I'm a Punjabi itself, but more importantly, what I saw during the Blue Star and the post-Blue Star era, I operated in Taran and the area of Patti and this real hotbed, Amritsar southwards. And what I found was the resilience of the people, and the movement got stopped. It's one of the greatest in the history where a separatist movement was quelled. And other than Malaya, the only other example really of great significance is that of Punjab. And that was because of the people. Yes, it has had challenges. One about the invaders, subsequently the partition about nearly 8 decades back that happened, where they were again on the forefront of getting the biggest brunt of the change. Subsequently, we found the wars happened. They were again in the forefront. And then this hassle with Pakistan, I think we internally, due to our political compulsions, created situations which got exploited by people who were in India. And we had that problem. And today, the greatest challenge of Punjab is that there is a large diaspora which has moved out. There is a great attraction. The agricultural land which was there is getting impacted by, I would say, excessive use of fertilizers, the problems that are coming up of the land getting fallow. The holdings have gone down, and we've now got the drug menace. And of course, the biggest challenge that it still remains the frontline state for India in its battle and its challenges from Pakistan. So let me just get back to the question proper. I would say, yes, really speaking, if you go into British history, and that's where I think we should really look at, before the start, during the British Raj, time and again, the policy has been to divide and rule, to get one of the kingdoms or the principalities under control. You sort of created a kind of a divide, whether it was a religious divide, whether it was a sectarian, whether it was an ethnic divide. And this was exploited very beautifully by them. And so I think to an extent in the 1800s, and 1900s, early 1900s, they did use the Sikh to sort of quell any resistance that happened in the Hindu kingdoms that they wanted to subjugate. So maybe to an extent that was it, but it was very marginal. When you look back at the history of the Hindu and Sikhs, the eldest son of a Hindu family became an Amritdhari and then joined and became a Sikh, the protector of the family, the community, and the relation. So today, if I am a Sahni, there are Sahnis who are turban Sikhs, may have been for the last 5-6 generations. So there is such an umbilical linkage between the Hindus and Sikhs of Punjab. It's very difficult to say that there was a divide, but yeah, they did try to exploit it. And we saw the outcome of it when the Khalistani movement started. So I would say that would be historical. But more importantly, I think we need to come up in the 40s and how it started. There was a feeling of alienation and a feeling of being let down by the state at times in a certain portion of the community. It was not throughout the Sikh community. It was, yeah, certain people felt, and maybe they were politically inclined, so they exploited it. And if you see that, I think the Reorganization Act of 1966, which really led to the carving out of the state of Haryana, Himachal, some portions going into Himachal, and the state of Punjab. As you're aware, this did create a little bit of discontent. After partition, they felt that they needed certain rights, and I would think justice wasn't done to the losses that they suffered during the partition battle. We had people of the ilk of Punjab who went into J&K. So there was certain simmering discontent which could always be exploited. But I think the hands-on problem really came up somewhere in the, I would say, the Nirankari and the Amritdhari Sikhs, the battle that took. I will just quickly look at it. Yeah, this was in the 1970s when the Nirankaris and the Amritdharis had a feud which led to tremendous violence in the 1978. And as you're aware, at that stage, the head of the Damdami Taksal was Jarnail Singh Bhindrawala. And from the Akhand Kirtani Jatha was led by Fauja Singh. And these were mobilized against the Nirankaris in Amritsar. So I would say a certain battle line got drawn in the society, which got exploited by the political parties. And as you see that the Akalis came into power in 66 after the partition or the carving out of the state of Punjab. But thereafter, I think by the time it was 1971, you already had only one seat going to the Akalis as far as the parliament was concerned. And I think they lost the next election in 72 to the Congress. And you had a Congress government that came in, and that's where Zail Singh came into the limelight as well as the chief minister of Punjab. Initially, of course, our late president, then subsequently. So I would say that was the rift. And just to bring out with this, I would say decline of the Akali, I would say control over Punjab, they led to what came out known as the Anandpur Sahib Resolution in 1973, which sort of enunciated certain things that they were requested the central government to look at to meet their demands or to protect their demands. And this 1973, I think, when I look at it subsequently, I think it was basically this Dharam Yudh Morcha, which got created in 1982. This was between the Akalis and the Bhindrawalas, which said that the mainstay of the voice for Punjab is that the problems of Anandpur Resolution 1973, those points should be addressed by the central government. And it is at this stage that the president of the Akali Dal, when Bhindrawala came under a little bit of flack from the center, invited him to come into the Golden Temple. And that's where the Golden Temple became literally, say, the bastion for the Khalistani power. And of course, as I said, there were a tremendous amount of people who joined up, who were there. I mean, from the army itself, we had Major General Shabik Singh, who became the guy who actually resisted the Blue Star operation, organized everything that was done around the Golden Temple and within the Golden Temple and the Akal Takht. But along with him, Balbir Singh, Amrik Singh, who used to be part of the AISSF, the All India Sikh Student Federation. They all were the three bastions who went across to Pakistan. And that's where I think the whole story got convoluted. The ISI got involved. With the ISI getting involved, there were stories that the CIA might have supported it because at that stage, America was not really keen and inimical to us. Inputs from Russia came to Indira Gandhi saying that there is an involvement of the CIA. The ISI we already knew. So maybe all these events led to her finally taking a decision of launching the Blue Star, which happened in June, and then the Operation Woodrow. So that's how I saw the movement started, fueled by the political aspirations of various contestants in Punjab, became a movement. Like they say, when you create a Frankenstein, then the Frankenstein can't be controlled. And that's what happened with Jarnail Singh Bhindrawala.
Right. And since the movement is also resurging right now during the elections, it already seems clear that, there have been several forces, not just the British, but even the political forces who've tried to exploit those fault lines, if I'm right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right here. So I think the challenge is, I mean, today it's very good for us sitting and in hindsight blaming everybody who was there in the political path. But then I think India was an evolving state. It had some 523 principalities. To get all of them homogenized to become a nationalist Indian is still a process. And today, I think finally, after 75 years with this Amrit Mahotsav that you're seeing, you're finally seeing signs of Indian nationalism. I mean, today now I'm more proud to be an Indian than to say that as a Fauji, anyway, never had this fact that I'm Punjab se hu or I am from somewhere else. I'm an Indian. I served everywhere and I've got friends across the landscape here. And maybe that's the reason why I'm talking to you from Delhi in the southern part of India. Yeah.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.